So before we actually begin, did you know that more patients in the U.S. were prescribed opioids rather than cold or flu medicine? Yeah, right? So, my actual research question is, to what extent is the use of narcotics reasonable to relieve the pain but not really be trustworthy? So, my claim is that the government needs to put strict restrictions on the use of opioids being used for medication. And my two resources were Richard Axel's The Sense and Sensibility, a molecular logic of olfactory perception, as it discusses how even like the simplest things as smell can just kind of mess with our senses and mess with our mind's eye, third eye, whatever you like to call it. And my second source was the Lewis Carroll's Alice Through the Looking Glass, as even though like we aren't physically there, Lewis does a very good job of giving imagery to fool the readers, as he says in his the caption, the chessmen were walking 2 by 2 as Alice went through the looking glass. Like, that's not something you would usually see on an everyday basis. So, the first people.
Go above it. There you go.
Okay. The first organization that everyone tries to blame is the government. But the government has already done something to try and slow down this overuse of opioids. Back in 1906, Congress passed the Pure Food and Drug Act, which kind of keeps us safe from all that, and it made manufacturers of these products, such as alcohol, opioids, anything including opium, they had to be labeled as dangerous or addictive. However, some people didn't heed this warning. The daughter of Maureen Cavanaugh became a user of heroin, and Kavanaugh writes in her story, "If you love me," how she watches her daughter wither away to this abuse, not only of the opioids, but through abusive relationships. And every day for her seemed surreal. It didn't feel like she lived in a fantasy, and her perception of her daughter and of her everyday life just kind of seemed to go down the drain. And a study was accomplished back in 2009 by Monitoring the Future, which is an organization that does surveys around the nation. And they recorded that 33% of people who use opioids, they actually received them through family or friends. 21% bought the opioids from a secondhand dealer, it could be a corner on the street. And only 19% got those by prescription. So just imagine how many people every day are walking the streets with opioids that they didn't receive through a doctor's prescription. So some may argue, well, what about the patients who do properly take their opioid prescribed medication? What will they do? Well, there are many things they can do. They could take other pain relievers such as aspirin, Advil, naproxen. If it were up to me, opioids shouldn't be in the hands of people in the public anyway. They should only be used in hospitals, as, well, many can't seem to handle it on their own. And as it says here, going back to the question in the beginning, 5.2 million people use opioids or prescribed opioids, compared to the 1.2 million for stimulants and 2.1 million for sedatives and tranquilizers. Now, there are a few resolutions or solutions that could be done. The government could just have pharmaceutical companies just stop selling opioids overall. They could also put better restrictions on the opioids, prescribing lower dosages, but as a regular pill amount for a normal prescription for a regular dosage of the medication. Or, instead of prescribing opioids as a pain treatment, they could use physical therapy in some cases. And these are
Okay. Okay. So one question for you, Taylor. So if you did have more time, what additional research would you conduct and why?
I feel like if I could go more into depth, I would have researched what chemicals went into some of the opioids and how those chemicals affect a person's brain, like why they cause some of the symptoms, such as like the hallucinations or the lightheadedness. I feel like that would give like a better idea as to what we could do to maybe change that, or substitute the chemicals for something else that doesn't harm the human body or human mind as much.